first news of the day is something that is very near and dear to my heart. We won't have to wait much longer for the next Indiana Jones movie. Director Steven Spielberg is planning to begin filming the new Indy adventure next year in 2019, just as soon as he's finished with his next film, a remake of the iconic musical West Side Story. That film is due out next year, which puts the new Indy movie on track to hit theaters in summer 2020, which is what has been announced already. Few details about the new film have been revealed. All we do know is that Spielberg will direct, with Harrison Ford back in the lead role. He's going to be our Indiana Jones for the time being. Indy's retired co-creator George Lucas, on the other hand, isn't expected to be involved. I know that there's a big wah happening around the internet right now. Ford will be 76 years old when filming begins and will be celebrating his 78th birthday just after the film hits theaters, which is incredible. And my congrats to you, Mr. Harrison Ford. You are an amazing human being. I just loved your work recently. I know Harrison Ford is watching because he's a big fan of Electric Playground. He is of me as I am of him. But I just finished watching his incredible performance in Blade Runner 2049. I am still eager for more Indiana Jones, and I still think Harrison Ford can pull off lead roles in big AAA blockbusters like he did with Force Awakens, like he just did with Blade Runner 2049. It's going to be interesting to see where they take Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones in the future, because obviously this is going to be, I think, more about a guy that gets by on his wits and his smarts and his adoration of cultural heritage and putting things into the museum. But I also think we might have a more poignant kind of look at the end of an adventurer's life. And Spielberg has been making some really cool movies that haven't been massive AAA sci-fi epics. We've got Ready Player One about to launch. But he's been making movies with real heart and real resonance, and I'm very eager to see what these two collaborate on. It's too bad Shia LaBeouf ended up being as much of a punk off-screen as he was on-screen for the last Indiana Jones movie, because that would have been an interesting segue. I think Shia LaBeouf's an incredible actor, but he, I think, burned some bridges. I'm still eager. I'd love to hear what you guys think. You guys can put some comments and stuff into the chat, or if you're watching the archive, let us know in the comments below. We'll get to some of those. We've got our Let's Play and chat at the end of the show, so we can talk about Indiana Jones. I'm here for that all day. I love Indiana Jones, and I for one, am excited. Now, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is a huge hit on the PC, and it's off to a good start on the Xbox One. I think great start is probably the better term here. Battlegrounds has so far sold 4 million copies on the Xbox One, making it the second best-selling game on the platform behind Halo 5 Guardians at 5 million copies. Battlegrounds has only been out for a month, though, and it could pass Halo to become #1 soon. Microsoft hasn't released specific sales figures for the Xbox One platform itself, but estimates put lifetime sales at somewhere around 30 million, which means roughly 1 in 7 Xbox One owners have already bought a copy of Battlegrounds, and that is outstanding. It's not all good news, though. The Xbox One version of Battlegrounds is still in its unfinished game preview program state, which is why it's been plagued with glitches, server outages, and long wait times ever since it launched. The developers are still working on it and promise to have the issues fixed soon. Battlegrounds is an unbelievable phenomenon in the video game industry. This battle royale kind of concept where everybody's dropped into a space and then they fight to the death and fight to the finish is exhilarating. It's very easy to understand. It's very easy to get lost in it, and it makes for a perfect console game. I think what's going to be interesting now, this is a timed exclusivity deal that Microsoft did with Bluehole, so we'll see how this sort of evolves in the future and whether we're going to get cross-platform play so Xbox owners can play against PC players out there and get smacked in the head with many, many frying pans, because the PC players, the master race, is going to crush the Xbox players on PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. It's a fun game. I haven't been completely consumed by it. Mostly because I've really just played it on, I played it a little bit on the PC, but now because it is on Xbox One, I've played it a little bit on Xbox One, and it isn't quite as polished as it is on the PC. And I've had a lot of shooters recently that have also eaten up a big chunk of time, that I feel deliver lots more variety in terms of the gameplay styles and stuff. They give me some single player and some multiplayer. But I definitely do appreciate all of the love for Battlegrounds. and I think I have to douse myself in it for a weekend at least and come back and give you my sort of full take, my full thoughts on it. I've come close to getting to I've come into like number 12, number 13, which is pretty exhilarating. But then it feels like you get that far and then you're dead, and it's like, oh, okay, well, that was an hour for nothing. But then you want to go back. I totally get it. I get the hook. All right, let's move on. The upcoming sequel to the classic horror movie The Shining, yes, I said that right, there's a sequel coming for The Shining, has found a director, filmmaker Mike Flanagan, who helmed the horror movie Oculus, which was pretty good, and the Netflix adaptation of Stephen King's book Gerald's Game is set to helm the big screen adaptation of the recent Stephen King book Dr. Sleep. Published in 2013, Dr. Sleep is a sequel to King's classic horror tale, The Shining, and focuses on an adult version of Danny Torrance, who battles vampire-like monsters in the present day. The film adaptation is being made by Warner Brothers, which recently struck gold with the breakout adaptation of another King book, It. Mike Flanagan's take on Gerald's Game was well received, so if Dr. Sleep is just as good, Warner Brothers could have another box office smash, and no release date for the film has been set. Now, obviously, Stanley Kubrick has set a huge high bar, with The Shining. It will be interesting to see how Flanagan comes even remotely close to that. But horror movies are a staple with studios. They are cheap to make, and they can make tons and tons of money, and you don't have to cast, expensive celebrities, because mostly they just kill off all these unknowns anyways. So this could be cool. This could be good. I think it will be completely different from what we've seen with The Shining before. It will be absolutely tailored for modern audiences. I wouldn't, be surprised if this happens, because, we've got a road here. It hasn't been for sure announced that this has got a release date and everything. But if this happens, it's a success. I wouldn't be surprised at all if The Shining gets remade in the tone of this new movie. But we'll see. What do you guys think? Huge horror movie fans out there? Did you like It? Are you fans of what is happening with Stephen King's books? Did you like The Dark Tower? Let us know in the comments below. All right. Let's move back to video games. Fans know when to expect the next Pillars of Eternity game. Developer Obsidian Entertainment has announced that the final version of Pillars of Eternity 2, the sequel to their 2015 RPG, is set to hit the PC, Mac, and Linux on April 3rd. That's coming up pretty quick. This is actually the first sequel that Obsidian Entertainment has ever made to one of their games, and they promise to have even more story, character customization, and magical abilities than in the first game, with a bigger and more detailed open world to explore. I love those Obsidian guys. We were fortunate enough to work with them when we made the making of Fallout New Vegas for Bethesda, and we spent a lot of time with the Obsidian folks, and I've been to that studio many times over the years to interview them on lots of games that they've made for other publishers, and it's just so exciting to see when an independent developer breaks out on their own and creates their own IP and their own publishing strategy. Kickstarter has turned out to work out very well for these guys. I sat on a panel with a couple Obsidian dudes. Josh, I forget his last name, was one of them, at PAX, and they were great. They had much love and appreciation for their fan base. They completely sort of understood the responsibility of making everybody happy once they had become sort of a Kickstarter investor. And I think they've done exactly that with Pillars of Eternity. We're in this kind of new renaissance for over-the-top, massive role-playing experiences. They disappeared when we got all kinds of cool 3D, RPGs from companies like BioWare and Bethesda. But Kickstarter kind of opened the door for fans of that kind of established take on RPGs to go back to that world, and developers stepped up and have delivered awesome things. So hats off to you, Obsidian. Looking forward to playing Pillars of Eternity 2.